So you clicked on this video and want to know how exactly it was for the most average fella in Victorian London. Well, imagine waking up in the most expensive neighborhood in London, 1856. Your eyes burn, your throat feels like it's been scraped with sandpaper, and there is a faint, metallic taste of garlic on your tongue. You think you're just tired, but you are actually waking up inside a chemical laboratory designed to kill you. Every single object around you, the vibrant green walls of your bedroom, the bread on your breakfast table, even the water in your wash basin, is saturated with lethal doses of arsenic, lead, mercury, and raw sewage. In this video, we are going to reconstruct 24 hours in the life of a Victorian Londoner. We will be looking at the raw, molecular reality of an era where fashion was literally combustible. The air was a toxic soup of coal tar, and your doctor's cure was a daily dose of liquid poison. Get ready to see how the most aesthetic era in human history became a masterclass in accidental mass poisoning. This is the Victorian London you weren't supposed to survive. It is 1856, and you are waking up in a wealthy household in Mayfair, London. You open your eyes. The walls of your bedroom are covered in a deep, vibrant green wallpaper. The color is highly fashionable, produced using a pigment called Scheele's green. This pigment is manufactured by dissolving arsenic trioxide in a solution of sodium carbonate and mixing it with copper sulfate. London is a humid city, and the walls of brick houses hold moisture. A microscopic fungus grows on the damp paste behind your wallpaper. As this fungus metabolizes the copper arsenite in the green pigment, it continuously exhales a toxic vapor called trimethylarsine. The bedroom windows are kept tightly shut overnight to keep out the city smog. You have been inhaling this gas for the last 8 hours. You wake up with a dull, throbbing headache, chronic nausea, and a distinct taste of garlic in your mouth. Your maid enters the room and pours water from a heavy ceramic pitcher into a wash basin. Running water is not continuous. Your district's water company turns on the street pipes for just 3 hours, 3 days a week. The household staff collects it in a wooden cistern in the basement and carries it up to your room. This water was pumped directly from the River Thames by the Lambeth Water Works Company. At this exact moment in history, London has no centralized, enclosed sewage system. The raw, untreated human waste of over 2 million people flows down open street drains and directly into the Thames. The water company runs this river water through a coarse bed of gravel and sand. This process filters out twigs and large debris. It does not filter out the microscopic cholera bacteria thriving in the water. You dip your hands into the basin, wash your face, and wet a bristle brush dipped in a powder made of crushed cuttlefish bone and chalk to clean your teeth. Next, you get dressed. The process takes 45 minutes and requires the physical labor of your maid. First, you put on a simple linen chemise. Then comes the corset. Your maid stands behind you, grips the laces, and pulls them tight. The target measurement for a fashionable waist is 18 inches. As the thick canvas and whalebone structure tightens around your torso, over the corset, you step into a crinoline. This is a cage made of concentric steel hoops suspended by fabric tapes. It makes your lower half approximately 1.5 meters wide. You have to turn sideways to walk through the bedroom door. Your maid drapes your day dress over the steel cage. The fabric is stiff cotton, heavily treated with starch to hold its shape over the hoops. Starch makes cotton highly combustible. Because the steel cage holds the hem of the dress suspended several inches off the floor and away from your legs, oxygen flows freely underneath it. If the edge of this starched fabric brushes against the open flame of a parlor fireplace or a dropped candle, the dress will ignite instantly. The steel hoops make it impossible to quickly drop the dress to the floor or compress the fabric to smother the flames. You are fully dressed. You leave the bedroom and begin your day. You descend the stairs to the dining room for breakfast. The table is set with white bread, butter, and hot tea. The bread is strikingly white, which is a status symbol in London. To achieve this color, the baker has mixed alum, aluminum sulfate, into the low-quality flour. Alum reacts with the gluten to create a whiter, softer loaf, but it also acts as a powerful astringent. As you eat, the alum begins to interfere with your digestive enzymes. Beside the bread is a dish of butter. It has a rich, golden yellow hue because the grocer has stirred in lead chromate, a toxic inorganic pigment used to mimic the color of high-fat summer cream. You pour milk into your tea. This milk was delivered this morning by a vendor who keeps his supply in an open wooden tub. To stretch his profits, he has diluted the milk with 30% water drawn from a local pump near a graveyard. To hide the thin blue tint of the watered-down liquid, he has added a mixture of pulverized sheep's brains and chalk to restore the creamy texture. While you eat, your cook is working in the kitchen, located in the basement directly below you. The kitchen has no windows and is lit by a single gas jet. This jet burns coal gas, which is unrefined and contains high levels of sulfur and carbon monoxide. There is no ventilation hood. The cook spends 16 hours a day in this subsurface room, breathing in a constant concentration of carbon monoxide. She has a permanent grayish tint to her skin and suffers from chronic vertigo. She is preparing a copper pot for your afternoon meal. The interior of the pot was originally lined with a thin layer of tin to prevent the copper from reacting with acidic foods. However, after years of scrubbing with abrasive sand, the tin lining has worn away in several spots. As the cook begins to simmer a sauce containing vinegar and salt, a chemical reaction occurs between the acid and the exposed copper. This creates copper acetate, or verdigris. It is a bright green salt that is now dissolving into the sauce you will eat later this afternoon. You finish your breakfast. You go to the hallway to put on your outdoor coat. The air inside the house feels heavy. The coal fire in the hearth is burning sea coal, a cheap, sulfur-rich fuel. Because the chimney flue is partially blocked by soot buildup, a steady stream of sulfur dioxide gas is leaking into the living room. It reacts with the moisture in your throat and lungs to form dilute sulfuric acid. You have developed a persistent, dry cough that you consider a normal part of living in the city. You step out the front door and signal for a hansom cab to take you to the shops. The hansom cab pulls up to the curb. To enter, you have to navigate the sidewalk, which is covered in a thick layer of street mud. This substance is a mixture of soot, coal ash, and the daily waste of 300,000 horses. Each horse produces roughly 30 pounds of manure every 24 hours. This waste is ground into a fine paste by the iron-rimmed wheels of thousands of carriages. As the sun hits the pavement, the moisture evaporates, turning the waste into a fine, airborne dust that you inhale as you step into the cab. The driver takes you toward Regent Street. The carriage has no rubber tires or shock absorbers. The iron wheels strike the uneven granite cobblestones at 10 miles per hour. Because your corset is laced so tightly, your spine cannot naturally absorb the vibrations of the road. Each jolt is transmitted directly through your compressed torso to your internal organs. You arrive at a high-end department store. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of new textiles. You are looking for a dress made of a specific shade of mauve. This color is the result of the world's first synthetic dye, mauvine, which is derived from coal tar. The dye is chemically unstable. As the fabric rubs against your skin, the aniline compounds in the dye react with your sweat. This often triggers a condition known as aniline poisoning, where the chemicals enter the bloodstream through the pores, causing the skin to break out in weeping sores and turning the fingernails a faint shade of blue. On the next counter, there are green silk gloves. These are dyed with copper arsenite, the same arsenic compound found in your wallpaper. The dye is not fixed to the fabric. It is merely dusted on and held by a starch paste. When you try on the gloves, the heat from your hands loosens the arsenic powder. It settles into the creases of your knuckles and under your fingernails. If you have even a tiny scratch on your hand, the arsenic enters your system directly. Before leaving, you visit the apothecary shop next door. You buy a jar of Laird's Bloom of Youth to maintain your pale complexion. The primary ingredient is white lead, or basic lead carbonate. You apply a layer of this paste to your face and neck. The lead particles are absorbed through your skin and begin to settle in your bone marrow and nervous system. Over time, this leads to lead palsy, where the muscles in your wrists become so weak that your hands hang limp, a condition doctors at the time call wrist drop. To treat the persistent cough you've had since breakfast, the apothecary hands you a bottle of Batley's sedative solution. It contains a high concentration of opium dissolved in alcohol. You take a dose right there in the shop. The opium enters your bloodstream, slowing your heart rate and suppressing the cough reflex in your brain. Your pupils constrict, and the pain in your ribs from the corset begins to fade into a dull, distant sensation. You walk back out to the street to find another cab, feeling strangely calm, despite the thick yellow smog now settling over the city. To light the drawing room, the servant uses a long match to ignite the gas chandeliers. These fixtures are connected to a network of lead pipes running behind your green wallpaper. The fuel is town gas, manufactured by heating coal in large retorts at the local gasworks. This gas is not purified. As it burns in the open air of your parlor, it releases a steady stream of sulfur dioxide, ammonia, and carbon monoxide directly into the room. Because there are no glass globes to enclose the flames, the oxygen in the room is consumed at an accelerated rate. Within 30 minutes, the temperature near the ceiling rises to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The sulfur dioxide reacts with the moisture in the air and the water vapor in your eyes to create a mild form of sulfurous acid. This is why your eyes feel gritty and bloodshot every evening. Furthermore, the heat from the gas jets accelerates the off-gassing of the arsenic in your wallpaper. The fungus behind the paper, fueled by the warmth and the humidity of your breath, doubles its production of trimethylarsine gas. You sit down to handle some correspondence at your mahogany desk. You reach for a sheet of fancy writing paper. To give the paper its smooth, glossy finish and weight, manufacturers treat it with a coating of satin white, which is a mixture of calcium sulfate and aluminum sulfate. If the paper is colored, it likely contains Prussian blue, ferric ferrocyanide, or chrome yellow, lead chromate. You wet the adhesive on the envelope with your tongue. The adhesive is made of gum arabic, often preserved with a small amount of mercury chloride to prevent it from molding during storage in damp warehouses. As you write, the room is heated by a coal grate. The sea coal burning in the hearth is roughly 2% sulfur. The chimney is narrowed by a thick lining of flammable creosote and soot. This restriction prevents a clean updraft, causing back puffing. Every few minutes, a cloud of fine particulate matter, soot particles smaller than 2.5 microns, is pushed back into the room. These particles bypass the natural filtration of your nose and settle deep in the alveolar sacs of your lungs. Your body attempts to isolate these particles by surrounding them with scar tissue, permanently reducing your lung capacity. For a light evening snack, you have a slice of Gloucester cheese. The bright orange rind of the cheese is not natural. It is created by adding red lead, lead tetroxide, or vermilion, mercury sulfide, to the coloring vat. These heavy metals are neurotoxins. As you chew, the lead begins to interfere with the neurotransmitters in your brain, specifically mimicking calcium and tricking your neurons into absorbing it. This process slowly begins to degrade your cognitive functions, leading to the shattered nerves, so often diagnosed by Victorian physicians. You decide to take a warm bath before bed. The water is heated by a geyser, a first-generation gas water heater installed in the bathroom. It is a large copper cylinder with a series of gas burners at the bottom. It has no external vent or flue. As the burners heat the water, they rapidly deplete the oxygen in the small, unventilated bathroom. Carbon monoxide, which is odorless and colorless, begins to fill the space from the ceiling down. Carbon monoxide has an affinity for your hemoglobin that is 200 times stronger than oxygen. As you soak in the water, the gas begins to displace the oxygen in your red blood cells, forming carboxyhemoglobin. Your skin takes on a slightly flushed, healthy-looking pink glow, the first clinical sign of carbon monoxide poisoning. You feel dizzy and assume it is simply the relaxation of the warm water. You dry yourself off and prepare for sleep, unaware that your blood's ability to carry oxygen has been compromised by 10% in the last 20 minutes. You enter your bedroom and prepare for sleep. The room features a large, heavy mahogany bed frame. The mattress you sleep on is stuffed with horsehair. To prevent lice and other insect infestations in the organic horsehair, manufacturers soak the raw material in a solution of mercury bichloride, also known as corrosive sublimate, before drying and stuffing it into the mattress ticking. As the mattress ages and the horsehair becomes brittle under the weight of your body, microscopic dust particles coated in heavy mercury salts form inside the mattress. Every time you shift your weight on the bed, a plume of this invisible, mercury-laden dust rises through the cotton sheets. The bed linens themselves are blindingly white. Laundresses achieve this extreme whiteness by boiling the cotton fabrics in a caustic mixture of lye and chloride of lime, which is a form of bleaching powder. Residual calcium hypochlorite remains trapped deep within the woven fibers of the fabric. When you lie down, your body heat warms the sheets. The residual chemical reacts with the trace amounts of urea and lactic acid in your sweat. This slow, low-grade chemical reaction releases minute amounts of chlorine gas directly against your skin throughout the night, causing a chronic, microscopic contact dermatitis that you experience as a persistent, unexplained itch. You sit at your vanity table to complete your evening cosmetic routine. To achieve the highly desired doe-eyed look for the next day, you apply 2 drops of a specialized liquid into each eye. This liquid is a concentrated extract of Atropa belladonna, commonly known as deadly nightshade. The active alkaloid compound in the liquid is atropine. The moment the drops touch your cornea, the atropine physically blocks the muscarinic acetylcholine receptors in your eye muscles. This paralyzes the sphincter pupillae muscle, forcing your pupils to dilate completely and remain locked in an open position. You completely lose the ability to focus on near objects, and your vision blurs. As the atropine drains through your tear ducts and is absorbed systemically into your bloodstream, it mildly elevates your heart rate and suppresses the function of your salivary glands, leaving your mouth completely dry. You then rub a thick layer of cold cream onto your face, neck, and hands to soften the skin overnight. The base of this cream is spermaceti wax mixed heavily with flake white, pure basic lead carbonate. You leave this thick paste on your skin for the next 8 hours. The lead dissolves seamlessly into the natural lipid layer of your skin. It passes directly through your epidermis and enters your capillary network. You climb into bed and pull the heavy velvet curtains of the canopy shut tightly around you to block out drafts. These heavy curtains create a sealed microclimate. The total air volume inside the closed canopy is less than 2 cubic meters. As you breathe, you constantly exhale carbon dioxide. Within the first hour of sleep, the CO2 concentration inside the enclosed dead space rises from a standard 0.04% to well over 3%. This accumulation forces your autonomic nervous system to increase your respiratory rate, making you breathe faster and deeper to acquire oxygen. Simultaneously, the temperature inside the canopy rises from your trapped body heat. This localized warmth transfers to the adjacent wall. The damp paste behind your green wallpaper, heavily populated by the Scopulariopsis brevicalis fungus, accelerates its metabolic rate due to the optimal heat. The production of the toxic trimethylarsine gas peaks between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Since the bedroom door and windows are locked tight against the outside smog, The heavy gas pools near the floor and slowly rises to the height of your mattress, seeping through the gaps in the velvet curtains. You spend the next several hours inhaling a dense mixture of elevated carbon dioxide, trace chlorine from the linens, vaporized mercury from the mattress dust, and trimethylarsine gas from the walls. While you are unconscious, your liver attempts to process the chemical load accumulated over the previous 16 hours. The alum from the breakfast bread, the lead chromate from the butter, the copper acetate from the dinner pot, and the aniline dye absorbed from your dress all filter through your hepatic lobules. Heavy metals do not break down in the human body. The lead and mercury ions bind irreversibly to the sulfhydryl groups of your cellular enzymes, permanently deactivating them. The metals then exit the liver and are carried by the bloodstream to your skeletal system, where they permanently substitute for calcium in your bone matrix. Your kidneys filter the excessive sulfur dioxide and coal tar byproducts from the London air out of your bloodstream, a process that slowly scars the delicate renal tubules. You experience a deep, immobile sleep induced by the opium tincture taken earlier in the afternoon. The morphine alkaloids keep your respiratory rate artificially suppressed, despite the high CO2 levels, preventing your lungs from coughing and fully clearing the fluid and black coal dust, a condition called anthracosis, settling deep in your lower respiratory tract. You sleep soundly, and the cycle prepares to repeat the following morning. After 5 years of this daily routine, your physical condition degrades. Your joints constantly ache, your gums begin to recede, and your energy levels are permanently depleted. You schedule a consultation with a respected physician on Harley Street. The physician operates under the prevailing medical theories of 1856. He does not know about germ theory, heavy metal bioaccumulation, or the toxicity of synthetic dyes. He checks your pulse, inspects the coating on your tongue, and listens to your breathing through a wooden monaural stethoscope. His official diagnosis is neurasthenia, a generalized depletion of the body's nervous energy caused by the stresses of modern city life. To restore your nervous energy, the physician prescribes a highly popular and standard pharmaceutical treatment, Fowler's solution. This is a liquid tonic. Its active ingredient is a 1% concentration of potassium arsenite. You are instructed to mix 5 drops of this solution into a glass of water and drink it twice a day. When you ingest Fowler's solution, the potassium arsenite enters your gastrointestinal tract and is rapidly absorbed into your bloodstream. At the cellular level, the arsenic directly inhibits the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, a crucial enzyme required for cellular respiration. It physically blocks your cells from producing ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the molecule that provides energy for basic cellular function. While you take this tonic to cure your fatigue, the chemical mechanism of the arsenic is literally suffocating your cell's ability to generate energy. To address your chronic digestive sluggishness, which is actually caused by the alum in your daily bread and the opium in your cough syrup, the doctor prescribes blue mass pills. You purchase a wooden box of these from the apothecary. Each pill consists of 33% elemental mercury, triturated with licorice root, rosewater, and honey. You swallow a blue mass pill after dinner. The elemental mercury travels to your stomach and intestines. While much of it passes through the digestive tract, the continuous daily dosing allows a percentage of the mercury to oxidize into mercury ions. These ions cross the intestinal wall, enter the blood, and easily cross the blood-brain barrier. Over the next few months, the mercury accumulation in your central nervous system causes you to develop a fine, continuous tremor in your hands. Your salivary glands become hyperactive, and you experience a permanent, distinct, metallic taste in your mouth. Your physician notes these developments during a follow-up visit and records them as signs that the medication is actively working to purge the disease from your system. This exact biological process is happening simultaneously across the entire adult population of the city. London holds 2.5 million adults living within this specific chemical architecture. The industrial infrastructure of the city continuously replenishes the toxic load. The factories operating in the East End and along the river continuously vent hydrogen sulfide, hydrochloric acid gas, and lead particulates directly into the lower atmosphere. Because London sits in a basin, a frequent meteorological temperature inversion traps this dense chemical layer below 150 feet. The entire population inhales this mixture continuously from October to April. Eventually, the human body reaches a maximum saturation point. Your kidneys, having filtered high concentrations of mercury, lead, copper, and coal tar derivatives for decades, experience widespread tubular necrosis. The filtering units inside the kidneys scar over and fail. Your liver develops cirrhosis from processing the continuous intake of heavy metals and toxins, despite you consuming very little alcohol. The structural integrity of your skeleton is compromised because the lead you absorbed from cosmetics, cheese rinds, and water pipes has permanently replaced the calcium in your bone matrix, making your bones brittle and prone to microfractures. You reach the age of 42. Your heart muscle, weakened by years of chronic carbon monoxide exposure from the indoor gas lighting, and the restricted lung capacity caused by the coal smog, struggles to pump blood through your narrowing vascular system. Your internal organs begin to shut down sequentially due to chronic toxicity and hypoxia. The physician signs your death certificate. He lists the cause of death as exhaustion, neural weakness, or simply decline. In the statistical registries of Victorian London, this is recorded, filed, and accepted as a completely standard, natural death. Well, my dear friend, tell me in the comments which fact I missed to add in this little story. And if you thoroughly enjoyed watching this little narration, leave some comment on which part interested you the most. I will try answering it in the comments, or I might make a new video covering deeper on what is more interesting for you guys. I'm just starting this new channel, so if you want to support it, you know what to do.